It's 10:47 p.m. Your phone is lighting up the room, and the rent reminder is sitting on your screen like it owns the place. Rent is due in 48 hours, and you're short. If you're on a low or middle income, and you're already stretched thin, this moment doesn't just feel stressful. It feels personal. Here's what we're doing tonight. A calm 3-step plan to get through this week without making next month worse. But first, one rule. In the next 60 seconds, you name the gap. No guessing. And then we answer the real question. What do you do when the gap still looks impossible? This isn't rare, and it isn't a character flaw. In the US, about 49.7% of renter households spend over 30% of their income on housing costs. Nearly half. So if you feel like rent keeps swallowing your paycheck, the problem is often the math, not you. This is Wealth Mentor Pro, where every lesson is a step closer to your freedom. If you're wondering how to face rent due dates when you're broke, how to handle the panic without spiraling, and how to stop this from repeating every month, stay with me. We'll stabilize today, close the gap this week, and build a small buffer that changes how next month feels. I know how loud a quiet apartment can feel when rent is due. First, think of this like navigation. When you're lost, you don't sprint in a random direction. You stop and check where you are. With rent panic, where you are is 3 numbers. Imagine you bring home $2,400 a month. Rent is $1,250, due in 4 days. You have $620 because gas, groceries, and one tiny car repair showed up this week. The gap is $630. 630. When you write that number down, the problem stops being a fog. It becomes a target. Do this today. Write 3 numbers on paper or in your notes app. Rent due, cash available, the exact gap. Even if the gap is $50, write it. Here's why this matters. Panic makes you pay bills in the wrong order. It makes you refresh your bank app like it's going to magically apologize. It won't. A clear gap gives you choices, and choices are what calm feels like. If you skip this step, the cost is usually late fees, overdrafts, and rushed decisions that follow you into next month. Now, you've got the gap. The next question is the one that keeps people stuck. How do you buy time without blowing up your future? Second navigation move. Set an anchor. When the water gets rough, you don't argue with the waves. You secure what matters so you don't drift into worse decisions. For rent, the anchor is early communication and a specific offer. A landlord can work with a plan. They can't work with silence. Here's a simple message you can adapt. Hi, I'm short this month. I can pay $770 on the 1st and $180 on the 8th. Can we confirm that plan and any fees in writing? Short. Clear. Dates included. Do this today. Send one message before noon, even if your stomach hates the idea. This is where a lot of advice stays too vague. People say, talk to your landlord, but they don't tell you what to say or why timing matters. In 2024, tracked cities saw eviction filings around 7.8%. That doesn't mean you're doomed. It means waiting quietly can shrink your options faster than you think. And let's clear one fear right now. You don't need to over-explain. You don't need to confess your whole life story. You just need a concrete plan and a written agreement. That's how you shift the timeline back into your hands. So we've named the gap and we've anchored the situation with a plan. Now we need to close the gap in real life, not in motivational speech land. What actually works in the next 24 to 72 hours when you have a job, a body that gets tired, and a life that doesn't pause for rent? Third navigation move. Take the shortest, safe route. Not the heroic route, the route that gets you through the week with the least damage. Start with moves that create cash without creating a bigger mess. Set a 20-minute timer and make 3 lists. Can delay, can reduce, and can earn. Then pick 2 actions you can actually finish in the next day. If you can earn, keep it simple and fast. Ask for 1 extra shift, even 2 hours. Offer a same-day job to someone you already know. Babysit for $40. Help a neighbor move for $60. Clean a small place for $80. These aren't glamorous. They're real. If you can sell 1 item you can hand over today. Price it to move, not to win a negotiation marathon. A quick $100 is often more useful than a maybe $200. If you can delay, call one bill and ask for a hardship option. Sometimes moving a payment by 7 days is the difference between being late on rent and being on a plan, and we need to be honest about assistance. The CFPB notes that after applying for rental help, it may take several weeks to receive funds, so we treat assistance like support for the next cycle, not a rescue for tomorrow. One more warning, because desperation attracts predators. The FTC warns about fake rental assistance, offers that ask for bank logins or upfront fees. Real help doesn't need your password. Quick check-in. If you've been in this spot before, what hits you hardest most months? Rent, groceries, transport, or debt minimums? One word in the comments. It helps people feel less alone, and it helps you notice your pattern. But here's what almost no one tells you. If rent panic keeps repeating, it's usually not because you forgot to budget. It's because you're trying to pay a fixed bill with zero buffer, while life stays unpredictable. So now we flip 3 switches that turn this from a monthly emergency into a system you can actually live with. Switch 1. Protect housing and the basics before anything else. This matters because stability comes before perfection. When you keep your housing secure and protect the things that let you work and function, your options expand instead of shrinking. Here's what it looks like with numbers. If you have $620 and rent is due, you keep enough for the next 7 days of essentials, and you send the rest toward rent as part of your plan. Essentials means groceries, gas, or transit to work, meds, childcare, the basics that keep your life running. Write a simple next 7 days list. Then write a second list called After Rent. If something must be late, you choose it deliberately instead of letting panic choose for you. This is education, not personal financial advice, but the principle is simple. Protect the roof and your ability to earn. Switch 2. Buy time with specific offers, not apologies. This matters because uncertainty is what fuels the 2 a.m. doom spiral. A specific plan turns chaos into a timeline. Here's the difference in one sentence. I can pay $770 on Friday and $180 next Wednesday is stronger than I'll try, even if the total is identical. Make it a 2-step process. One clear message, then one follow-up that says, thanks for confirming. If there's a late fee, ask once if it can be waived if you keep the plan. Sometimes the answer is no, but asking calmly is part of protecting your future. And keep the bigger picture in mind. If assistance takes weeks, you build your plan around money you can control today. That's not pessimism, that's realism. Switch 3. Pay future rent first with a tiny buffer. This matters because next month can't start at 0 if you want the panic to stop. You don't need a full month of rent saved to feel a difference. You need the first layer of protection. Here's a concrete example. Set aside $50 per paycheck. That's $100 a month. In 3 months, you have $300 of rent shock absorber. That $300 won't solve everything, but it changes how one bad week feels. Create a separate place for rent money, even if it's an envelope or a second account. On payday, move the small amount first before life eats it. Then do a weekly 10-minute rent check every Friday if you can. Rent due, money set aside, and any gap forming early. You're not waiting for panic to tell you the truth. You're checking the map while you still have choices. Now let's go back to the question from the beginning. What do you do when the gap still looks impossible? You stop trying to solve the whole month in one night. You run the sequence. And here's a 1-minute ritual that makes it stick. Rent due minus rent set aside equals the gap. If the gap is bigger than $0, schedule 2 actions within 24 hours. 1 action that buys time and 1 action that builds cash. That's it. Simple, repeatable, and it works even when you're tired. So when it's 10:47 p.m. again, the phone glow might look the same, but you won't. You'll have numbers instead of noise. You'll have a plan instead of a prayer. And you'll be building the kind of calm that doesn't depend on luck. This is Wealth Mentor Pro. If this helped you, give the video a like so it reaches someone else who needs a calmer plan tonight. And subscribe if you want more steady, practical money guidance. And if you're ready to keep going, watch the next video that's on your screen now.